I quit Taxi, the self-proclaimed world's leading independent A&R company, and wanted to share my story in case it may be helpful to others. At the end of this video, I'll tell you about my current situation and what I'm doing with my compositions. You may be considering joining Taxi, or perhaps are already a member and wondering if you should stick with it or quit within the 1-year guarantee period to cut your losses, get a full refund, and take your money and run, so to speak. That's what I did, and I'll tell you why. I discovered Taxi through my producer Chris, who recorded my 2 solo albums. He mentioned that he was considering submitting some of the songs we made on there, and so I became curious to look into it myself. I read up on their website, watched some YouTube videos of people talking about their experiences with them, and determined at the time that it was worth the annual membership fee if I made even just a couple of placements, which can actually be quite lucrative, although in a pretty wide range. The fee for Taxi membership as of this time is $299.95 for the first year and $199.95 for each year after that. I do want to interject here that this information is buried fairly deeply on their website and not readily available even through their FAQs. I can only guess that it's because the membership fee may scare off some people, so they seem to want to first convince you it's worth joining before they hit you with the actual price, which is understandable from a business standpoint. And as mentioned, it is well publicized on their site that they do have a 1-year guarantee period during which if you quit your membership, you get a full refund of the membership fee. Bear in mind that taking advantage of the guarantee does not garner you a refund of any of the submission fees that you paid, which we'll get into in a minute. Being someone who did take advantage of the guarantee as I quit within the first year, I will vouch that I got a full refund from them very quickly, and I immediately stopped receiving all emails from them, which was actually quite impressive. I will also interject here that I found their staff to be exceptionally responsive, attentive, informative, and accommodating. And we all know that is a major breath of fresh air in today's business climate where customer service has become an oxymoron. So, how does the Taxi service work? They send out frequent listings for music needs from entities who require music for placement in various productions, as well as labels and managers who are scouting new talent to sign for representation. Members, who are music creators and producers, review the listings to determine if they are inclined to submit for any of them in particular. When they feel a potential to fulfill a need and make a sale of their music, they submit their recordings directly through the Taxi website and immediately pay the $5 fee. There is generally quite a good amount of lead time before the submission is required, so ample opportunity to weigh the decision to submit previously recorded work or to create something fresh specifically for the listing. Sometime after the submission deadline, a period which can vary in length, an industry professional at Taxi will review all of the submissions for a given listing and give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. When rejecting a composition, they provide explanations on a few specific criteria, feedback that can be useful in further development of your work, or at least provide an explanation of why they didn't feel it was a good fit for that particular listing. It's Taxi's reputation on the line, given what music they pass on to the entity looking for placement. If the Taxi representative determines that it is a good fit, as well as a high enough quality recording, they will pass it along to the person who posted the listing in search of music, something they refer to as a forward. Of course, it may be among any number of other submissions deemed worthy by the reviewer and passed on to the listing entity. And aside from any competition there for the placement among the potential group of submissions forwarded, it's also up to the decision maker on the other end to pick the one particular piece they feel is worthy of commissioning for their production. So there are a few hurdles to clear before actually taking a payday. So what was my experience with this process? I felt good about this prospect overall, as I had recorded literally 5 albums worth of songs with both my rock duo Soul Twin Messiah, as well as my solo material under my name Evan Gary Hirsch, the Blue Rocker. They were quite professionally recorded in 2 acclaimed studios by talented producers, and I felt confident in the quality of the songwriting, performances, and production values, if I do say so myself. I certainly still stand behind that, and you're welcome to watch any of the videos on this channel and the Soul Twin Messiah channel for that matter to hear for yourself, or of course stream the songs on any DSP. So I signed up and reviewed all of the listings that came to my email inbox, scouring for ones that felt like I had songs that fit the specifications for which they were looking. They are quite detailed in the genre, sound, vibe, and lyrical content / subject matter. In all, I submitted over 40 songs to Taxi, which cost a $5 fee for each one. Out of all those carefully chosen songs for the listings provided, I literally did not get one single song forwarded to the listing party. All were, as they call it, returned, meaning a rejection. Although I understand that rejection is par for the proverbial course in the entertainment business, and competition is always stiff, as they say, it just ultimately felt like I wasn't going to get anywhere. And so I decided to cut my losses, given that I had already spent over $200 in non-refundable submission fees and knew that I could at least get my $300 membership fee back through their generous one-year refund guarantee policy. So what actually happened here, and what did I learn? Well, my first moment of doubt was during the new member orientation Zoom, in which I participated very soon after joining. It was the first one available after I joined. The founder of the company leads these personally and is very good about communicating how Taxi works, setting an expectation for the new members, and guiding them on an approach to the service with the most potential for success. I actually asked a question about my personal situation, and the answer set me slightly aback. Bear in mind, I had already paid and was a member by that point. When I told him that I had recorded 5 albums worth of songs and that one of my producers introduced me to Taxi because he intended to potentially submit some of the ones he worked on to seek licensing deals, Michael, the owner, cautioned me that it would be very difficult to have already written and recorded songs and then force them into a pitch that was written based on very specific needs for the placement. And that was the key right there. None of my songs exactly fit what the person was seeking to fulfill for their particular need. It was akin to attempting to force a square peg into a round hole. And we all know how that goes. Hopefully we learned that one in about kindergarten, maybe before. So what's the lesson here? How does one become successful at getting placements through Taxi and make money from the licensing deals and recording contracts with which they are entrusted by industry professionals? The trick is this. Members are expected to review the listings and determine what compositions they feel confident they can compose and produce with the specific criteria already in mind. In other words, you look at what they need for the placement and create a song to fit the listing. That is how people are successful being members of Taxi. I was essentially doing it backwards. So, do I feel that Taxi is legitimate? I honestly do. Despite not having gotten any forwards myself, let alone placements nor a payday, I think I was just given a little false hope from my producer that since we had good songs, there would likely be listings that would be a perfect fit for some. But after over 40 attempts, it just became clear that it was unreasonable to expect to shove my songs into such specific listings that weren't known nor taken into account when writing the songs. So the upshot is, if you have songs already and want to seek licensing deals through a Taxi membership, I would not recommend it. However, if you have a recording setup and are proficient at composing, performing, and producing extremely professionally sounding songs, and are ready to review listings in search of a spark to ignite your creative and producing prowess, get in there. The only thing you have to lose is a bit of time and $5 a submission. What you pay up front for membership is entirely refundable for a whole year. Plenty of time to take the whole process for a test drive, so to speak. Please pardon the Taxi pun. So what has become of my recordings? Well, I am consistently releasing songs and albums for both my solo work as well as Soul Twin Messiah, and I hope that despite not having been forwarded as a perfect fit for the submitted listings on Taxi, they are still worthy of a listen on their own merit. My expectation is not necessarily to derive profit nor an income from them, although, as I understand with many artists, we would love to at least recoup some of the production expenses, perhaps build somewhat of a following, share our passion, bare our souls, and exercise our musical talents. And maybe even, if we are one of the exceptionally lucky ones, even make that elusive living off our art. The life of a creative, huh? At least there is a certain joy in expressing ourselves creatively and perhaps even having a few people who truly appreciate and most importantly enjoy what we are putting out in the world. Thanks for checking out this account of my experience with Taxi. And if you do check out any of my music, please drop a comment how it hit you, whether positive or negative. And I hope it does resonate with you and you enjoy it and decide to follow and hear what's coming next. Thanks for listening. Good luck to you. Keep your creative passion alive and keep pursuing your dreams.